I'm going to share a little bit about my background, and I'll start by saying that having a healing center was not part of my plan. It wasn't ever something that I thought, oh, when I get older, when I have the opportunity, I really want to create a healing center. No, it never ever even occurred to me. And so I'm going to share from that place, and knowing that some of you know this story, especially those of you that have been in some of my classes or my business entrepreneurship classes, and even my certification programs may know this, but I want to share with you just kind of my background, because I think it will help you to understand how important it is to not close any doors. So about 16 years ago, when I started realizing that it was time for me to really do my work, I'd had several experiences with my ex-mother-in-law who had passed away, and I was with her when she died. And when she passed away, I literally, during those moments of transition, I felt her spirit move through my body. And when that happened, it was like everything changed. It was like, you can't just keep going through the motions. You can't just stay at home and just be a housewife and a mother. At that time I had a 2-year-old and an 8-year-old, or a 2-year-old and a 10-year-old. It was like pushing me out the door, like, it's time to do your work, Sonny, and get on with it. And she was a big integral part of that. And then actually shortly, or right around that same time, my grandmother passed away. And so it was just another person on the other side. It was like, okay, Sonny, it's time to get working. So when I started doing some of this, it really was just something that I just wanted to help support people. And so when I started teaching classes, I was teaching them in my living room, and that worked fine. It worked just fine. I had 10, 12 people those first couple of years, and although I had to run around and make it, clean the house up and get it ready for people to come over, and I had a 2-year-old and a 10-year-old, so we had kids' toys all over, and the little picnic table in the middle of the living room, and I had to move that out to the patio every time, and clean up the bathroom, like I'm sure some of you do that. But it worked, and it was great. And so from doing that class in my living room, what happened was some of the people, when I would do a class, like one of the times I did a book club, and we did it on You Can Heal Your Life, which was a huge life-changing book in my life, and so I really wanted to give back. And so we did several book clubs, and so people would say, well, I went to my New Age, or I went to my bookstore, and I went to the personal development, but I couldn't find that book. Can you get it for me? And so I was like, I don't know, I guess I'll figure it out. So I just called Hay House. At that time you could call them. And I spoke with a lady, and I said, I'd like to be able to buy some books for wholesale. Can I do that? And she said, well, yeah, you just need to get a license, a wholesale license. And so I said, oh, okay. And so I figured out how to do that, and I did that. And I called them back and said, okay, I want to order, 10 Heal Your Life books. And so then I took those to my class, and I said, okay, now you guys can get the books from me, and you don't have to get them from the bookstore. And so I was saving them time and energy and money. This was before Amazon, and this was before any really online stuff. Major online anyway. And so that's how, the classes in my living room, and then people asking me to grab certain products. I remember having, the angel blessings cards. Those were a big thing for me. I loved the angel blessings cards, and so I always talked about them, and I used them in my classes. And so people would say, well, can I get some of those cards? And of course they didn't have them at Barnes & Noble or at Borders bookstore, so you'd have to call and order them. And so they'd say, well, can you get some for me? So then I started getting those. And so my point is that things just started happening where people asked for something, and then I found a way to deliver that. And so eventually, after a couple of years of teaching classes in my living room, it got to be where my living room got to be too small. The classes, the very first class I taught was 2 people, and then that moved to 5, and then it moved to 10, and then it moved to 12, and then I was trying to fit 16 in my living room, and that was pretty cozy. And so I just, out of necessity, really recognized, gosh, I need a space where I could just, I didn't want it to be my space. I didn't want to even have a healing center. I never had the idea to run my own business. It wasn't part of my plan. Now, I did figure I would probably run a business of my own, but at the time, my husband was a contractor in construction, and so I was running his business. So I always figured that that's what I would do probably for my whole life until he couldn't do it any longer. So I was doing that also. And so when I realized that we were running out of space, I thought, well, maybe I could I started doing some classes at the library and at the community college. So I took my audience to those places, and then my audience expanded because of that. And so I thought, well, I need to have a space. Maybe I could just rent a space at somebody else's place, or rent a space in a library maybe, and I could do my classes there since they were getting too big. And my husband one day said, and actually at New Year's, I put on my vision board, I created a vision board for New Year's that year, and I believe that was 2001. 2002. It was 2002. So I'd been teaching classes for a couple of years, and in 2002 I just put, I want a space where people can feel safe and come together. People of like minds can feel safe and come together. And that was it. I just wrote those words on my vision board with no specific idea of what that looked like, how it was going to manifest. I was just very open to the idea and open to the way the universe would bring it. And then I kind of kept my eyes open, and I didn't go searching for anything, but I just kind of kept my eyes open. And then one day I was talking to my husband saying, gosh, I had these two other ladies that wanted to join a class, and I couldn't let them come in because there wasn't enough room in my house. I throw people on the floor and things like that. And so he said, well, son, why don't we just build onto our house? Why don't we just put an addition onto our house, and that could be your classroom? And I said, no, we can't do that. And he's like, well, why not? And I'm like, well, I don't know. You just can't do that. And it took a couple of days for him to convince me to even consider it. And then as I started to consider it, I started realizing, well, yeah, that actually might make sense, because then, it's a part of my house. It adds value to my home. It adds value to the neighborhood. It's a very short commute. And I had little kids, so I could literally be right next door when I was seeing my clients, which at that time I was seeing my clients at my kitchen table. And I had to kick my family out. They'd go see movies twice a week while I was teaching, and then I'd see the clients during the day. And my youngest son too was in Montessori, and so I was balancing all of that. And so we decided to do that, and he built me a healing center. It was just under 1,000 square feet, and that worked out beautifully. And then what happened as that happened is then I started getting more products, and I started making some of my own products. I'd have people say, well, could you make me a CD to help me to remember to protect my energy? So I just use the meditation that I've used my whole life, most of my life, around calling in Archangel Michael. And I made a meditation, and then I did a meditation about how to invoke your guardian angel, and I called it Meet Your Angel. And then I did one on connecting with your spirit guide. And so Growing Up Metaphysical was the very first one I ever did. And so these products started coming out from the request of others, and then I just kind of filled the need.